The silent majority needs a voice. The good news is Gruber is ready to go. Here's Steve.
Darling, you got to let me know.
When I walk into my house and it's chilly, and I walk over to the thermostat and kick it up a couple degrees, that's part of the magic of living in a modern society where energy is abundant. But I wonder about this new Green Deal and the targets of those environmental justice warriors, as they are called, and targeting me and my energy. And this push for lessening energy concerns me. Fossil fuels have and should continue to benefit humanity. So says my next guest, Sterling Burnett, Ph.D., Heartland Senior Fellow on Environmental Policy. Sterling, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, Steve.
So here I am looking at the new Green Deal and or Green New Deal or whatever they call it, right? And
Green New Deal.
Well, whatever. And I look at it and I go, these folks, I mean, are they just completely talk about unplugged? They're unplugged from reality. It seems to me.
Look, I don't know how much snow you got on the ground up there
in
Michigan right now, but if you're relying on solar panels at this time, you're getting no energy.
That's
Not
right.
Because it's nighttime, because they are now covered with snow.
That's
Snow
exactly
on your
right.
Roof, knocking the snow off your panels.
Well, here's my question: how cold can it be for windmills to still work? Because we're about to set all-time record lows in places like Chicago. Could set its coldest temperature ever recorded in the next 36 hours. And wind chills in Chicago could be minus 60. In my neck of the woods could be minus 40. And brutally cold temperatures from Minneapolis to Indianapolis. I mean, it's really going to get ugly here for the next 2 days, maybe 3. And to take energy away from us at this time, I mean, it's foolish.
And think about this. So you've got a wind turbine. I don't know that there's any rating that they can't turn in the cold. But if they get ice on them, they get frozen over like any other thing can get frozen over. Imagine what that turbine is like turning with this big sheets of ice that have now formed on the thing. And how dangerous it would be to be around these turbines if they were turning. When that ice goes sliding off into the distance. Cutting through cars on the highway, cutting through homes. Icicles form on people's homes, right?
Well, I just found the answer.
By icicles when they fall.
I just found the answer
flying
here.
Icicles. They're javelins.
Well, they are, but I found the answer here for wind turbines. They're generally designed to function to minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Minus 4, which is, we're going to be deeply below that shortly. When temperatures drop below that, it becomes a big problem because you get ice and snow buildup, which means the blades are out of balance. And you know how if your tire's out of balance, think about those big blades that are going 186 miles an hour at the tip. If they're out of balance because of ice and snow buildup and other issues, that can destroy the entire $5.5 million turboprop, right?
So what they do is they shut them down during the snow, and your solar panels aren't working. And so now, if you've got battery backup, your batteries are working. But of course, if the snow and the ice last for very long, your battery's suddenly not working. So you don't have power because, we've gotten rid of the fossil fuels.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. You sit here and you look at the foolishness of all of this, and you say, is global warming due to sea currents, sun activity, the jet stream, or is it because I drove a truck to work today? I mean, what really affects everything here?
It's probably a combination of all those things and more.
So where do we go from here? How do we convince people of the right thing?
Of so many factors. Climate is a combination of all sorts of factors, and temperature is driven by all sorts of factors. And the climate models they don't even have all the factors built in because, quite frankly, the scientists admit, and you can read their papers, they admit they don't know how some of these factors affect temperature, whether they make them warmer on average or cooler, and to what degree. But they're confident everything is being driven by CO2, despite the fact that it's a very, very small, less than 2% of the atmosphere. but it drives everything.
Even though it's that's a good theory. And, here's the thing. If we don't accept their junk science, all of it, part and parcel, then, something wrong with us. By the way, Al Gore said that snow would be rare and exciting, that the Arctic ice would be gone by 2013, maybe as late as 2015, but it was going to be all gone in the summer months. And we weren't going to have snow, and ski resorts weren't going to have snow, and ski resorts and all of the winter activities were going to be dried up and gone by now. In fact, it should have happened years ago based on their predictions, which have all been grossly, frankly, wrong, not even close to true. And yet people continue to believe this garbage.
Yeah. There's a guy, the people that are pushing global warming are like a guy named Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich's a scientist. He used to get invited on The Tonight Show and all sorts of programs all the time, interviewed for Nova. And he's written a number of books, one called Extinction, one called Population. And he's made these predictions about population, about extinction, about the costs of metals, scarcity.
And every one of them has been so far wrong. He's the one that said we'd have 200 million people dying a year from famine by 1980 on the planet. That we'd
be out of oil and gas by 2000. Yet we've got more oil and gas now than we've burned through history.
Ever had.
That metals would be more costly now because they would be running out. And yet we have more metals now because he just understood nothing about how markets incentivize people to find resources. And, so we've developed all these things. He's never been right once, and yet he keeps getting invited on as if he's an expert on something.
He's an expert on being wrong. We have to leave it there, Sterling, but he's an expert on being wrong. What concerns me is that young people continue to hear this garbage and gobble it up, even though there's a whole history of lessons we learn about how wrong these people are. Sterling Burnett from Heartland, thank you so much, as always.
Thanks for having me on. Look forward to speaking with you again, Steve.
There you have it. Brutally cold outside, so I guess snow and ice aren't too rare. They're exciting when you're going 40 miles an hour sideways. Then it's really exciting. It's the Steve Gruber Show.